Just a moment, some technical issues.
Who is timekeeper? You can. Our timekeeper.
Okay.
Alexander.
Just a moment.
We need a beautiful slide.
Yeah, I'm just fixing this. Because, yeah, it's a little bit difficult.
What is not difficult at all?
It's just, no, I'm teaching students in university, and it's always situation you just like a very old professor when you just go to the technical stuff and trying to fix something. I'm feeling like old professor when some young students.
Will you please stop for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
Не начинайте пока.
Long story short.
У нас слайдку сейчас вам принесут. Слайд тема и слайд.
Так у нас же есть, я сейчас его ставлю.
А, у вас есть?
Конечно.
Все, тогда отлично.
Если сейчас интернет позволит его загрузить. Ага. А я включил вывод, чтобы забрать.
Все, не ждите, можно начинать. Спасибо.
Я вижу, куда вставлять, но я боюсь, что я не вставлю.
Вам помочь?
Да.
Мне руки потоньше, может.
Не, вот туда вниз, там идешь, подвези. Она выше сверху, вот на эту панель. Где-то вот тут.
Сколько судей нужно, чтобы...
Yeah, just a moment, like fixing these technical issues.
How many experts do we need?
I think 5 or more.
Switched on.
I think 5, maybe 6.
I don't think it's possible.
Somehow we should work.
Да, все мы понимаем, куда оставлять, но оно не встает.
You are loose.
Кто-то держит телек снизу, чтобы он не упал. Кто-то читает, а я играю. Да, чтобы там чуть-чуть рука пролезла. Да, вот сейчас.
It's very fun, you can hear it in the comments. That's
Сейчас
Я сделала все, что могла.
Извините, что не толкает.
Under the flag.
Да, есть контакт, он включился. Сейчас мы его включим.
It's a win-win.
Так.
О, работает.
Возможно, его включили еще до этого и просто здесь.
Это вероятно, да, что мы включили давно и просто не видели.
Кстати, камеру я запустил заранее, так что у нас есть видео.
Это
Лучше традиция снимок, кино, можно убрать звук и показывать как 4.
Не, надо убрать изображение.
Без изображения?
Без изображения тут будет блокировка 18+.
сколько детей?
А мы же потом покажем вид зала, сидят дети.
И мы такие, да, вот побольше.
Да. Так, он при этом показывает что-то не то, да?
Он показывает. Мы можем в целом включить YouTube, да?
Да, включаем. Вы...
Здесь он точно работает.
Ай. Так.
А HDMI вообще не включен?
HDMI подключен. Нет, это мы прошли стадию.
Хорошо, а там должна быть кнопочка такая на пути, которая включает HDMI.
Кнопочка.
Вот source вроде как он тут и должен быть.
Да, а вот входа. Так.
HDMI.
Она монитор.
О!
Победа.
Заработало.
А,
Какой ужас.
Я не понимаю, почему.
Можно
не
сейчас?
Всё, давайте сделаем кто-то, кто в этом лучше разбирается.
Сейчас я ошибаюсь. Вот, да, все.
Нет.
Всем это не показывает.
Стало хуже. Нет, оно показывало, надо, чтобы оно на весь экран показывало.
А что оно сейчас показывает?
Крымский мост.
Мы скажем тебе.
Раунд 2.
F5.
Так, стало лучше. Показ.
Старинки пойдем. Да господи, F5. F5 не нажимаем.
Да, оно не работает.
Тогда справа снизу нужно все, ну или там.
Все.
Окей, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Николай, плюс 5 points.
Ну, Коля уже плюс баллом к стилю, к костюму.
Okay, we are ready and let's start. This is our motion. This house believes that society should recognize veterans of unsuccessful or unpopular war as well. And we're ready to start. It's info slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And first speaker of proposition, your time is 6 minutes.
So, good day, ladies and gentlemen, our honorable judges and timekeepers. So, we're starting to debate considering our motion. And as the proposition team, we strongly believe that society should recognize veterans of unpopular or unsuccessful wars as well. To start with, in this case, what is recognition? What are we talking about? Recognition addresses us to public, institutional, or any kind of acknowledgement of the impact made on veterans, their sacrifice, their experience, and the most important issue that we consider this recognition, regardless of whether the war was successful or unsuccessful. Was this war in which veterans participated considered officially a success or a failure? Here, another definition is unsuccessful or unpopular war. It is an armed conflict considered to be controversial in our society for the history of one particular country. This war ended as a defeat for one particular country, for the veterans which presented this country. We define such actors as government, which is official, important structure, a vital part for our society, for our country. Next will be society as a large social group which has impact on our everyday life, and the history of the people, of the ancestors. Also, we have to mention such actors as mass media. Of course, it is a great way, a special method of communication, nevertheless, regardless of is it written or broadcasted or even published. And lastly, it is a veteran, a person who participated in any war and survived it. It is important. We have to highlight the value and quality of veterans' life. In this aspect, the most important issue is equality and the recognition of the veteran's life. Here, starting to speak about the equality, we know that every veteran who participated and survived one particular war is already a hero, because he or she fought for one particular country, his or her motherland. He tried or she tried to do everything they could in the frames of the situation, in the condition they tried to survive, and they believed in a success. But in the beginning of the war, how could one particular soldier know what will happen next? What will be the happy end, so-called? And to what end these soldiers are led to? I'm speaking about they are led to why? Because in the frame of the armed conflict, we need to understand that soldiers have no right to disobey the orders they are given. So they cannot decide what to do for themselves. If they tried to do it, they are considered to be deserters, or they are called to a tribunal or a court-martial. So the memory of the war is generally important. It is important for everyone, without referring to a war as a defeat or a success. Is it a popular war or unpopular? These people, veterans, they thought about and fought for their country, their motherland, their loved ones, their family. And these people cannot be forgotten. A society must not ignore the veterans of unsuccessful wars, because it weakens society itself. And we are talking here about recognition as a fact of justice, healing, and unity, important for every society. It isn't only about providing veterans with some formal honors or days of remembrance, or creating museums, or financial benefits, but we are talking also about providing veterans with deep public respect, regardless of the outcome of a particular war or the popularity of the war. This is also about a focus on the respect, on the focus on the heroism of individual soldiers, which can help us to prevent stigma, which is a negatively social attitude towards people. We're talking about veterans who are vulnerable, and they were the part of unsuccessful or unpopular wars. This form of judgment, this stigma, this percepting them as losers, just as participants of some immoral conflicts, despite their personal sacrifice, can lead to social isolation, different mental issues, and lack of support from the society itself. And all in all, to sum up my speech, I would like to say that society has no moral obligation to separate the evaluation of the war's outcome from the way it treats its veterans. That's all. Thank you.
Next speaker, first from opposition team, you're welcome.
So I'm ready to start. So 3, 2, 1, let's go. Hello, dear audience. I'm glad to see all of you here, and I'm glad to speak for you, our dear opponents, my dear teammates. So first thing we would to notice on this motion, what we should prove on this motion. And our team is truly believe that all of the decisions, all of the deeds of the soldiers who was on bad words, who was on unsuccessful or unpopular words, are not the same, just not the same as the really heroes who was, for example, for our World War II or World War I and others conflicts where the behavior were different, the thoughts were different, and all of that. So why the unpopular and unsuccessful words were destructive and wasn't helpful at all. And the main thing, they was really unfair. First of all, these words, thank you. Like you can see on info slides, it's not self-defense wars. The war when there was as an aggressive side, where I am as a soldier, was from country who was aggressively do something bad things. On the other side, who was weaker, who was just pushed to self-defend them. And of course, the governments who started this war have a sort of political and economical reasons and choose to kill people for it, just to kill people and lose their lives for it. And that's why those veterans are not such great and such as should be such honors as the other veterans who really struggle for the best things, not for just destroyment and losing just the nations, the countries and others. So, and the main thing I want to notice that some of the wars, like you can see on the slides, the majority of them was with the weaker side, with the weaker country. When in the fact, in the start of this war, one side was have a better equipment, better soldiers than others, and one side just a real victim. So who are those veterans? They committed crime, they killed people, they can committed a lot of crimes, such you can see in Vietnam War, in Soviet War, in Afghanistan. There were really crimes when people who are not really shouldn't be involved in this strive for life and others. The soldiers, which our dear opponents try to honor, is the people who just hurt untouched citizens. And we have the two types of these veterans. First of all, is the victim, real victim, who was pushed to go to the war, like it was in Afghanistan, for example. But our teams truly believe that we shouldn't honor them as heroes, but we should, and we shouldn't give them a lot of respect. But we should to understand the faults of our country, of our government, and give them proper treatment. And that's why we should, we even could be supportive. We can suggest them to go through the, not now, but later, go from rehabilitation and other things, but we shouldn't be glad for the bad deeds. Okay, your point.
Thank you very much for letting me to say my point. I'd like to ask what exact treatment you'd like to give to those people and for what causes? Like, what is the disease?
Okay, so I don't know how to say it in English, but a lot of soldiers have a PTSD from the wars. They mental health is unstable at all. They see a lot of deaths. They kill people, and in every wars, people should go through the rehabilitation, and it includes the understanding from the society, the sessions with the psychologists, the talk with the government, maybe представители, so they can understand that that was our fault, but you did, but what you did was really bad. But we feel sorry for it, and we will like to help you to treat. And also we have spoiled people who had a choice, go to the war or not to go. For example, the Iraq war, a lot of conflicts with less developed countries. People have a contract and they choose to sign this contract and to become restricted time. Just a killer. They are not honored with it, and we should honor their choice to kill people, even if it was fault of government, because they have a choice to go on the war or not to. They listen to obligation, but most of them are committed really serious crimes. All in all, we should give all of these veterans proper treatment and rehabilitation. We can remember them, we can even be supportive to them, but we can deny that crimes and destroyments and bring in the wars the losses of people's lives, and that's why we can't honor them as well as great heroes. Thank you for your attention.
Okie dokie. It's time to Loki. Hello dear audience, our dear opponents, my teammates, my name is Alicia, or you can call me Alice, but I have a lot to say on our beautiful motion as far as you know, so I'd like to start from the refutation. Our dear opponents talked a lot about heroism and who do we consider as heroes. Yeah, so mostly in our motion there's no words about heroes in general, so we're talking about veterans, and also as defined in our definition that veterans are the people who survive the war. Whether they're heroes or not, it's just like a medal that you get for some deeds. But even though you're just a soldier who wore on war and you survived it, and you are considered to be a veteran. So there was really good point that our opponent said is about considering people victims or crazy killers. So what about that? They give us an example with the treatment of the PTSR, and also that we consider like people that are crazy and people that are not crazy, like they're victims. How do we define them? First of all, I'd like to say that there is no point of being a killer if you don't strive for something. So people go in the war for like having money because they have a specific situation in which they need those money. They're willing to have like a specific amount of money. Sorry, minute. They strive like people from for example, from Vietnam. They could live in a very specific situation where they lack of money and they need them like for living, for raising their children, and they strive only for that, and they want to be killed to get those money for their family. Are they considered to be victims or crazy killers who are having a PTSR or so what? So there's one question. Now your point.
So there are examples when people was in a difficult situation but don't go to kill people. Thus, we should really honor people who choose money instead of being a good person and not to kill people.
Okay, I understand your point, but although we talked in our first argument that we need to honor people that are being on the war and they did everything they want for everything they could for their country, rather than you're talking about the people that are going from the other countries. There was an example, but they also need them. Like, they want to get any chance to get money. We're not talking about extreme examples as the people that are like crazy and stuff and they want to just go to the war and shoot people everywhere and kill everybody. So, second, I need to finish my point, and also about the treatment and PTSR. There's like in any war, is it popular or unpopular? There's like a lot of different stuff that we can get there. PTSR is just the mildest thing that you can get there. Like, you can get frustration, you can get concussion, and it's a lot more like a serious thing than PTSR. Like, on PTSR, you're getting asleep, and then you're waking at the night, you're getting some seizures, or you're getting a headache, you can talk, you can scream, or getting some also seizures when you're seeing or hearing the loud stuff. So, and treatment of concussion is a lot more difficult. People can't walk, people can't stand, they can't even be socialized normally. And how do we consider those people victims or killers if they're getting hurt and we don't remember them, we just forget them? Now for my case, okay.
So we don't talk that we should deny all of the treatment which we gave. We should we talk that we should deny every honor. That if people feel ill, if I can't walk, I should have my treatment, but I should be.
Okay, I understand your point. Thank you very much. Let's not lose time. So people are getting this type of diseases on any war, whether it's popular or unpopular. We should honor them that they survive. This is the point. There's no point of getting if you're a non-soldier, you can also get these diseases. That's not the point. We should honor them. And even if they're crazy and stuff, it's their problem that they should solve. So now for the case, because I don't have time. Continuing our first argument, our second argument is just a simple line that connects them. So it's the emotional status that is really important, the emotional status of the narrative. So what is happening, basically? People from for example, the Iraq war, they are being forgotten. So they are being forgotten and the person feels lonely, if we divide from the people that are being in the famous wars or popular or successful, they're being well known, they're being massively spread, the knowledge about them. But the people that are being forgotten, just look from the side of the person. I was on the war, I fought for my country, I was trying to do everything I could, I survived it, and afterwards I don't get anything. I don't get at all. I don't get honor, I don't get anything, and nobody knows me. And I was just okay, and for what was I doing this, basically? And afterwards, what is happening with this person? So he goes from the right path, he goes to the side path. And afterwards, criminality raises because the people are getting, as our dear opponent said, they're getting some psychiatrist problems. And afterwards, they need treatment or they don't have. Oh my gosh. Thank you very much for this game. I'm really glad to be here.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, sir, member of the House. Today we will talk about the veterans of unsuccessful or unpopular war. And first of all, a tiny bit of remark. I think we shouldn't speak and shouldn't debate about the should we treat or should we don't treat these people in the meaning of medical issues and stuff like this, because it's not part of our topic. They obviously will have all the medical treatments, all the financial government support and stuff like this. It's not a part of our team, or our motion. So I think it's not the point of our debate. What is the point of our debate? First of all, it's the unsuccessful or unpopular wars. We should define what are them. Firstly, what kind of unsuccessful or unpopular wars in this example or in the definition we see? It's a war when one country, obviously a superpower, invade a regional minor country for economical or political reasons.
it's nothing to do for fight of your country. It's nothing to do for fight of your values or some stuff. It's simply your governmental, economical, political resources and stuff like this. And unsuccessful or unpopular wars is the worst when we have governmental and societal consensus that this war was a mistake. Vietnam War was a mistake, and now the United States government and United States society understands that it was a mistake. Soviet war in Afghanistan obviously was a mistake. Why it's so important to speak about the definition of this war? Because when the superpower invades some regional power, they had like advances in technology and weapons and stuff like this, and they crushed the officially military forces in the first days. And they have to deal with resistance from the civilians. All of this war have done with the war crimes from the superpower to the local power which they fought to. I mean, in Vietnam War, it's lots of violation of human rights, war laws, and so on and so forth, as well as in Soviet, in Iraq, in both of Afghanistan. And why it's so important? Because there are two different situations. One, when you protect your country, when you fight for ethical reasons, when you fight for your nation, for surviving on your nation. And second situation, when as you individual commit war crimes, fight with civilians, and fight for only economical or political stuff for your countries. There are two types of people who actually take part in this kind of war. First of them are people who willingly go to this war, and most of them are kind of kind of people who have a motivation for money or for something like this, and we obviously don't have to treat them as heroes, because if you go to the war, fight for money for your family, you are not hero, you're mercenary. It's the only one point, and you shouldn't have any kind of societal support. The other part of these veterans of this war is the victims of this war. People who been mobilized, who been departed to this conflict, as Soviets, as Vietnam War, and so on and so forth. And we shouldn't treat them as heroes. We should treat them as the victims of this war, because this war was a mistake. This war was fought under any kind of war laws and so on and so forth, and obviously they have PTSD because they committed crimes during this situation, and we have treated them as a victim of this war. When we speak about, for example, I think of the cultural representations of the veterans of unsuccessful wars, like Russian film Brat, or like American films like Apocalypse Now or Rambo, we see broken people with PTSD who hadn't adapted a normal adaptation to society in which they have to live. And when these people came from this war, don't understand why they fought, what they done, they have like very guilty and broken mind. And we send them, guy, you cool, you hero, you done good things. These people have a moral obligation and psychological obligation in their home society to do more crimes, to violate the law, as well as they doing in this. Yes.
So if we are talking about the victims, how can we represent them as victims in such popular films? After watching Brat 2, I think we understand that yes, he is a victim, but he is more a hero.
And it's a problem with the film Brat 2. I will be happy to live in society in which the hero of Brat 2 will be represented as the victim and not in the civil visual. And I think the romanticization of these people, as in Brat 2 or in Rambo, it's a big problem, because some young people want to be like these guys who broke the law, who do some criminal stuff, who killing people, and think that this is okay. We don't think that this is okay, and we strongly believe that with normal kind of rehabilitation and understanding that they are victims of this war, and we have not to deal with them as heroes, but the victims, we may somehow proceed as society. And now on examples of American society proves that we are actually right. because now on they treat them as a victim. They understand that government made a mistake to have this war, and somehow this situation are getting better. Thank you all.
And we're going to third speaker. Nikolai, you're welcome.
Greetings, I'm the third speaker of the proposition team, and in my speech I will discuss the main ideas of this game. The key ideas so far are one, whether veterans are criminals and whether they should be stripped of their right to not be stigmatized and to be recognized, specifically vets of unpopular and unsuccessful wars for being in those wars. And the second key idea is about how specifically this affects our society and how we perceive those wars in the future. So the two ideas are basically about how this impacts history, how this impacts our social media, how it impacts representation in mass media, and one is about the feelings of the veterans. First let's start with whether they are criminals. It is very important to understand that war crimes happen in every war. When you give a person a hammer, he begins to see everything as a nail. When you give a person a weapon and send them into a foreign land, they will seek opportunities to use that power. And that always results in crimes. However, crimes aren't always recognized in successful and popular wars because history is written by winners, because they shine light on them differently. Yes?
Those crimes aren't exactly recognized in popular wars, not because they are written by winners, but because the positive impact of this war is more important than the cost of this.
Okay, thank you. But at that point, that means that we are accepting that war crimes happen in all wars, but still choose to treat veterans of unsuccessful and unpopular wars differently, just for the sake of removing that war from the history of our country and acting as if we are ashamed of it. So, another thing that we discussed are reasons why people go to wars. And it is important to understand that many people enlist in the regular army before the war, and because they think they're going to defend their country, because they're going to be doing good for the country. And in this moment, I need you to understand that soldiers, they believe that they are working for the benefit of the country. So when the country later doesn't recognize their deeds, they're actively betraying the trust of the soldiers. And in doing so, there is a significant hypocrisy in the actions of the state and of the society, where the people who served them, the people who suffered for them, the people who did the hard part for them, are seen as criminals and seen as they should not deserve basic human dignity and respect as veterans of successful wars. It is like blaming the pilot of that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima for doing the deed, instead of the administration that led to such decisions. There are many people to blame for wars. There is the administration, the top brass. There are even the people who elected that administration in the first place. But the soldiers are simply people who went to a war and just happened to be in a war that was unsuccessful, or perhaps needed a lot of money and could not get it in other ways due to the economic crisis, to lack of education, etc., etc., and thus needed to go to war. Yes?
Do you really believe that the soldiers have to fulfill all the orders without moral or ethical thing of them?
Since violating orders has significant repercussions for the family of the soldier and for the soldier himself, yes, I will believe that people are that we should not discuss whether obeying orders should be done or not in this game. So we think that it's important to understand that this recognition of veterans, it's not about, it shouldn't be about the country forgets about them, not because they don't need those veterans, but because they paint a bad picture for them. They don't want to be associated with them. If you went to a war and it was a successful war, you're going to be a glossy picture in a history book about how heroic we are, and if you went to an unsuccessful and unpopular war, you are forgotten. And that is hypocritical of our society, and we believe that it's important that our society remember both our faults and our good deeds, and therefore we should treat these veterans equally. And second, about the impact on the person themselves. Our opponents say that we just need to have them treat PTSD, but that's not enough. People who come back to home from war experience other issues. One of the best depictions of this, and most famous, is All's Quiet on the Western Front, where the protagonist returns from his First World War in Germany temporarily while the war is still going on to his home, and feels that he cannot empathize with people back home because they don't understand and will never understand what he's been through. And when we do not recognize people, that means that they are extremely alone. They cannot explain to other people what they felt in the war because they perceive them as criminals. We alienate these people to the point of complete loneliness, in which the best case scenario is them simply living the rest of their lives as empty husks. And the worst case scenario is criminality or drug addiction or alcohol addiction, etc. And since we value people's lives and dignity, and they have suffered enough in the war already, that's why we think that all veterans should be recognized equally. Thank you very much for your attention.
And the next first speaker from the opposition team, you're welcome.
Alright, 1, 2, 3, I start. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vlada, I'm the third speaker of the opposition team, and in this speech I would like to refute the arguments of our opponents, reveal their own arguments, by explaining how the system will work in different narratives and how it affects different actors of the topic. First of all, yes, we should recognize both our good and bad deeds, but giving the bad deeds recognition in glory does not mean accepting them. If they are different by results and nature, we should accept them differently, and that's what we're going to talk about. So firstly, the arguments and case of our opponents. Their first arguments were about recognizing people who survived as heroes. But survival is not heroic in itself. Surviving is just human nature. A person who fell from a plane and survived is a survivor, but we not deem them a hero. A person who survived the fire survived, but we do not deem them a hero because the context is different. So surviving in a war doesn't make you heroic, it makes you human, and this is fine. And if you are a human who went through a difficult situation, you should be seen as a human who went through this difficult situation and get help from the government who sent you there, if you were sent there by the government. Second, they were talking about the historical memory and how we will just forget and pretend that this war never happened if we don't recognize those people. But this is not true. We do give them recognition in a different light, not heroic, but dramatic, because it is tragic what they went through. And it is tragic what this war has brought both to the people of the country who was superior when the conflict started and the country who was inferior when the conflict started. And we do not forget that this war happened, but we say, yes, it happened, it was a mistake, we're sorry that it happened, and we're going to work on that 1 second. Yes?
But why should this be done at the cost of veterans specifically?
It's not done by their cost because they're still getting the money for the fact that they went to war. They're still, it's in the definition and an info slide of our topics, they still get all the prospects from the country. We're talking about the society and the way people of this country view the veterans. And that's also an important thing I wanted to talk about because our opponents and us a lot too talked about the veterans specifically, but we rarely mentioned the society. And it's important to say that unpopular war or lost wars were not only on the veterans. They're not the only actor here. The government and the people who live in this country, the civil population of the country, are also heavily important. And they also undergone some traumatic experiences. And if we constantly remind them of those traumatic experiences, after every unsuccessful war, we go like, yes, let's celebrate the day of this war and let's cherish those veterans of this war and this war. Oh, you were all traumatized and you experienced losses in this war? Well, we still try to give recognition, let's recover from that this way. That doesn't work like this. If we're constantly reminding people of the trauma that they went through, they're not going to heal that trauma. We should let them put it to rest and help those who seek help. Also, they were talking about the emotional status of the people, as if we don't give them respect that they deserve, they will become criminals.
Okay.
Yes?
You're talking about the traumatization, but why should we forget some words, and some words we should know about really well?
We are not saying about forgetting this. We are saying that constant reminders of this war by cherishing their veterans are not necessary, because the amount of wars that happened in the last decades is so tremendous that reminding about each and every war in museums and parades and all of this will really get us all depressed. And this is not a scenario we would like to see. About the emotional trauma and what people are going to turn into if we don't give them recognition. Our opponents believe that they will all become criminals because they feel alone and abandoned and hurt. But actually, if we work in the narrative that our team proposes and we see them as victims who need help and we give them the help, they will have a better chances, no thank you, they will have a better and higher chances of integrating back into the community. Because let's talk about who really is a veteran of the war. It's mostly quite young people actually who are in their 30s or 40s, maybe mostly, and they do need to integrate back into the society. And when they get back home with all their trauma, they mostly get violent with their wives and children. And if we cherish this, and if we say, yeah, you are a veteran, you are allowed to do that, they feel entitled to do that. But if we say, no, it was a mistake, what you have done there is not allowed to be done here, we give them a sense of coming back into the reality. And this is a huge problem too. People who went back from war do not understand the reality anymore. They do not understand the reality without the violence anymore. And we really need to emphasize that and show them that, no, honey, you've come back home. Now you cannot behave the way you behaved somewhere out there in the fright zone. Now let's go to the rebuild of our arguments, because a lot was said and a lot should be said now. Our opponents said about the starvation for money and that people fought for their countries, therefore they should be recognized as the heroes or noble people who fought for them. But actually, if we see interviews and actions with the veterans of Vietnam War and another unsuccessful war, they do not know what they fought for. A lot of those people feel ashamed and confused because they say, yeah, like we fought in this war and we thought that we are fighting for something. No thanks, it's plenty time. But when they've come back home, they realize that they do not understand what was this for. They do not understand what was the benefits for their societies. They do not understand who were they protecting, because in most cases the army went off in those small countries that were not as developed as the big defender country. And they were mostly fighting with the partisans and the local people. And when you come back home and you realize that you've done something terrible and you feel terrible. So we cannot say that those people were fighting for some glorious things. They were not. They were fighting because they were taught to fight, or because they were sent to fight. And this is just sad, and we should help them. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. And we're going to the reply speech. Reply from opposition team.
Okay, thank you everybody, and thank you prop team for your play and for your arguments. Today, what we talked about during this debate. During this debate, we talked about the situation how we should treat the people who return from unsuccessful wars as the heroes or as the victims who should have some treatment and should have to chance to return to normal life. As opposition team, we had proof and have several arguments that prove the main idea that during the unsuccessful wars, during the shameful war for the society, people who have to go there, either victims or the criminals. And when we speak about the victims, when we speak about people who suffer from this unsuccessful war, the only possible thing for them to treat in their motherland, it's only to being victim and only to have chance to re-socialize. Because if we will treat them as heroes, we will have some social issues with romanticization of people who have killed civilians and stuff like this and do war crimes. Obviously, the most important point, the one of the most important point, was about the war crimes. Obviously, the war crimes have take place in all war at all. But as we proved that in this kind of war, the war crimes is a normal. It's a normal situation and not as like when you're protecting your motherland. And we don't want these people in our society to feeling like a heroes, to feeling they do something right. Most important thing about unsuccessful war, as we said before, is how we as a government, as a society, should treat this war. If we will treat the veteran that return as the heroes, who people who do the right thing, we will think that all of this war was right. There was something right in the idea of this invasion or stuff like this. And if we will treat them as the victims, we as a society have a consensus that this war was a big mistake, and now on we have to somehow to change this for the better, to solve this mistake. Thank you all, and vote for our side.
And report speech from proposition team.
Hello everyone again, and thank you for this marvelous debate. I'm really pleased to be here and to be at the end of this. So now let's continue my speech, the reply. So there's a lot of talking about heuristic stuff, about recognition, and all game was about basically shall we or not shall we recognize those peoples who are on unsuccessful and unpopular wars. So and we as a team were not defying the people on criminals and on victims, first of all, and second of all, we were not saying that the people are going there because they didn't know what they're doing for. So basically, in the speeches of our opponents, there were two remarkable people. So first of all, they said that the people didn't know that the war was the mistake. First of all, in the second speech, there was the line that I didn't remember which exact war, but it was a mistake. There was just like a sentence. Afterwards, there was a sentence that said that they know what they're fought for. And those two ideas clash in between each other, and this is the major point in their case. So basically, also there was a big clash point in our side and in their side about the PTSD treatment and other stuff. But as I said in my speech, and that we continued in others, that we shall not speak about treatment basically, because it happens in any war. Anyone can be, anyone can do criminality of war. In our third speech, it was saying an example with a hammer and a nail, like the person that goes to war, see everybody as a nail, due to psychological problems and so on. Also, there was a pretty remarkable point that we are not talking about heroes basically overall. There is no such word as heroes in our motion, and we're talking about the veterans, and the veterans' definitions were explained by our first speaker. So basically, heroistic stuff is non-relatable to our motion. And also there was a pretty interesting moment that our opponents said that reliving the war doesn't make you a hero, but even though that you survived the extreme situations and so on, was pretty interesting. But we're not talking generally about the heroes overall. I think that, and also about the traumatization, it also a bit contradicting the point that we should, from our side, we were telling a lot about the, okay, so thank you for your attention.